Viewers, we are getting in news of yet another mid-air scare. This time it is on board a SpiceJet plane. A passenger who claims to have been on board the plane from Delhi to Srinagar has put out a video on social media where he says the plane was in free fall above the Banihal Pass and rapidly lost several hundred feet in altitude. But there's been no official confirmation from SpiceJet so far on the same. Take a look at what happened.
Everyone, please fasten your seatbelts. Instructing all passengers to please fasten your seatbelts. Everyone, please fasten your seatbelts. Instructing all passengers to please fasten your seatbelts.
Joining us live on the broadcast is the SpiceJet passenger who said that the mid-air scare happened. He is the one who uploaded the video last evening. Firstly, thank you for joining us. Take us through what actually happened in these moments. Explain to us what happened, what did you experience? Because you mentioned that it seemed like it plunged it plunged to the ground to a certain extent, after which the aircraft stabilized.
So what has happened basically, we were on this SpiceJet flight 385 from Delhi to Srinagar yesterday. It was around 4 p.m. and suddenly the flight faced a very difficult situation between Delhi to Srinagar over the Banihal Pass. The flight was overall smooth until then, and suddenly passengers by the airline were asked to shut the windows, which was done and followed up by all the passengers. And then suddenly there was a serious drop in the altitude of the flight.
Okay.
And there was commotion in the flight, there was screaming, and it was a very difficult situation. To be honest, I have traveled more than 45 countries in my life, have traveled in very difficult weather situations, but this one was different. And this was different for multiple reasons. One reason that there was no early warning on this. Normally, when there is turbulence on a flight, all of us know that we get an alert from the captain saying that a turbulence is on the way, and they advise us to put our seat belts on. But there was no such prior warning, number one. Number two, the crew of the plane were still in the middle of the aisle. And then suddenly one of the crew members fell because of this, serious turbulence which happened. And that's it. So there are multiple questions. The questions are that if the pilots of the airplane had this information that a serious storm was there over the Banihal Pass, why did they pass over it? When the DCG air regulations suggest that airplanes should not cross in the event of a storm like this. There are international standard operating procedures for all commercial airlines. And the second is that if they didn't see this on the airline radar, what was the weather warnings from the ground radar system, from the weather stations on the ground? So there are multiple questions on this, and one of the most difficult questions that we are faced right now, that recently there is this regulation for the flights departing and coming into Srinagar airports to close their windows. And it can be a serious safety hazard because passengers, crew, they don't know and understand what's happening with the flight outside. Passengers are supposed to have a very clear view of the wings and the engines of the airplane so that they take precautionary measures as well. So there are some of these questions which I think are very crucial. Passengers like us who travel on this sector quite often, have these questions. We had a very serious incident with another Indigo flight in May, on May 21st, when there was a serious storm, and that airplane was basically faced by a hail. And the radome, or the nose of the plane, was seriously damaged, although the plane managed to safely land in Srinagar. but I would say that questions do remain.
Okay, all right. And it does look very scary. If you look at the video, it is difficult to imagine what the passengers would have gone through. But I'm glad that you and the other passengers are safe. In fact, SpiceJet has also released a statement where they said that there was only a minor turbulence and the plunge did not actually take place. The plane did not plunge several hundred feet as you claimed. How would you respond to this official statement by SpiceJet?
As you might have seen from the video which I had shared, I managed to capture that video only towards the end of that serious turbulence. And the pilots, they did mention that passengers should put on their seatbelt, but that announcement was only made once the serious situation was over. So that's something that we can see from the video as well, that there is an announcement, but the announcement is only made once the turbulence and the fall is over. And we also see that that announcement is made after one of the crew, a lady crew member who had fallen on the ground on the aisle, was crawling towards her own seat in the front of the aircraft. So I would say that there was no, I think this can be easily confirmed, that unfortunately there was no prior warning and the seatbelt sign was not on at the time of this crisis.
Okay, all right. You have raised multiple of these questions and you're going on to say that what SpiceJet has said is not actually true because the camera shows something else. What did the pilots and the cabin crew tell you when you experienced this mid-air scare? Do you believe that the crew handled the situation appropriately? Do you think that they should have done something more?
I think they handled it very professionally. One could see that they were also very nervous by the situation. As I said, I have traveled a lot, but honestly speaking, I have never seen crew that nervous. And we can see the nervousness also very evident from the announcement being made in the plane. They were nervous because this happened very suddenly. They were also managing the situation very professionally. They were calm. Although people were screaming, people were saying prayers, all people from different faiths were saying their own prayers. But I think the crew managed the situation very professionally.
Okay, all right. Well, we are glad to know that the passengers were fine and the crew did the best that they could. It is worrying though because this comes amid a lot of questions that have already been raised about the air safety. The government has said though that there is no reason to worry and that all the safety procedure is being carried out by the country. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Quick break now. We'll be right back.